Good morning. Good morning to third BCom Computers and General students. All the final year Computers and General students, a very good morning and welcome back to the class. And the subject is Banking Theory and Practice. And today's topic is about KYC. Okay, please concentrate on the class. KYC, what is the meaning of the KYC? KYC means Know Your Customer. What is the full form of KYC? Know Your Customer. So, what is the meaning of KYC? Customer, one who maintains an account, establishes business relationship, on whose behalf account is maintained, beneficiary of the accounts maintained by the intermediaries, and one who carries out potential risk through one of the transactions. So, who is the customer here? Customer may be a person who is having the bank account, first point. Okay, next, on behalf of whom he is maintaining the account, who is his beneficiary, means after him who is going to take the amount, his details also. We are collecting. Who is collecting? The bank is collecting. Why the bank is collecting? It is mandatory, compulsory to carry the risk through one transaction. In order to overcome the risk, they are taking the details of the customer through a scheme called as KYC. Who should know? Branch manager, audit officer, monitoring officials, PO. So, bank manager, you are giving the details. Audit officer, you are giving the details. Monetary officials, you are giving the details. What you should know? True identity and beneficial ownership of the account, permanent address, registration and administrative address. So, what they are knowing about you? They want your permanent address details. They also want the registered and administrative address. Okay. So, customer details. Who is the customer? Which type of accounts he is having? Which banks he is having accounts? What are the details of the person? What type of accounts he is having? Who is his nominee? Who are his beneficiaries? Okay. Why they are carrying? In order to overcome the risk. Whom we are giving this information? We are giving this information to the branch manager, audit officer, monetary officials, etc. Okay, why we are giving is our permanent details we are giving. That is the meaning of KYC. So, what KYC means? Once again, making responsible or reasonable efforts to determine the true identity and beneficial ownership of accounts. Making reasonable efforts. Why they are making the reasonable efforts? To identify who is the actual beneficiary owner of the account. What are his sources of funds? What is the meaning of source? From which places he is receiving the amount, incomes. What are his incomes? Either it is a house rent allowance or property income or agricultural income or a salaried person or a business profit. What are his sources? Nature of customer's business. What type of business the individual is doing is known by this KYC norms. What constitutes a reasonable account activity? Means what? Reasonable account, whether he is maintaining the appropriate account according to his business or not. Who your customer care are. Okay, is your customer care is taken or not? You are knowing the meaning, means it comes under KYC. Know your customer. Research your customers, know their pain points. Research the customer market means research. Who is doing the research? The government of India took the responsibility of making a research to know millions of population is existing in India. So these all population details they are collecting. Who are the real original account holders? Okay, who are the residents of India? Who are the migrants? Who are the foreigners? What are the details? Their permanent address. In order to find out, government is planning in different ways. It is having some strategy to gain the knowledge about that. Okay, so research the customer market, understand their problems and their priorities. What are the importance given to these customers? Speak to them and understand the needs and wants. Distinguish between the decision maker and the user. So what is happening at the research? They are finding out the needs of the people, wants of the people. Okay, who is the decision maker and who is using this account? Work out through much value they would attribute to the problem you will solve. Research the number of customers with similar problems. Use of CRM to record all the history and contacts. KYC does not mean denial of services to the common man. It is not providing any services to the common man. Okay, intrusive behavior. Use of information for cross-selling. Does not mean, okay, harassment of the customer, threatening to close down the accounts arbitrarily. It is not giving any special service to the common man. It is not misbehaving with the people. It is not using the information for selling the products. It is not harassing the customers and threatening them to close down the accounts. It does not mean it, okay. Understand their domain. Live and breathe in same circles as your customer. Get noticed from more than one angle, not just the one selling the widgets. True trust is important. The more customer that know you in a single domain, the more they are likely to trust you. Follow the trends and speculate on the future. Be active and balance it with the objectivity. So why? What is the reason for this knowing your customer is? It is knowing the details of your PAN card, Aadhaar card, your permanent details, your property, your salary, what type of profession you do, since how many years you are living in the country, in the state, in the area where you are from. These all means it is giving one identity to a person who is living on this land. For that, it is collecting the information. Advantages of the KYC norms. Sound KYC procedure have particular relevance to safety and soundness of the banks. It is giving the safety to the banks. It is through the banks. It is also able to know all the details of the people. They help to protect the banks' reputation and the integrity of the banking systems by reducing the likelihood of the banks becoming a vehicle for or a victim of financial crime and suffering consequently reputational damage. So what it is happening, it is clear, giving the clear picture, safety and soundness to the banks. The person who is opening the account with the bank is a perfect person, not a criminal or the person who is having the illegal business. It is also protecting the reputation of the banking system, integrity, the specialized services by reducing the likelihood of the banks becoming a vehicle. This KYC is becoming a vehicle. For whom it is becoming the vehicle? For banks, it is becoming the vehicle or a victim of financial crime and suffering consequently reputational damage. They provide an essential part of the sound risk management systems, basis for identifying, limiting and controlling risk exposures in assets and liabilities. They provide an essential part of sound risk management. They are sharing the risk and giving the strategies, policies how to overcome the risk by a policy, by a scheme called as Know Your Customer, for identifying and controlling the risk exposure. Empathize with the user, sell to the decision maker. The decision maker is unlikely to make a decision without consulting the person who needs your product. So in the research of this KYC, that is Know Your Customer, what the people understood is the decision maker or the account holder whom you want to know. Okay, what type of products he want, what type of insurance he want, what type of banking facilities he want. That is also helping for this customer. First, build trust with your potential user. The decision maker will listen to them more than you. You should trust why the government is gathering this information. It is going the safety and the security measures to the people. It should find out that. That is the reason. So the person should have the responsibility of giving the appropriate information. Your product needs to solve their problems and make them better cost in the least of their problems. Add value, don't add risk. Break down barriers, build bridges. The more bridges you have, the easier it is for you to customer to get you? No. Core elements of the KYC, if you talk, customer acceptance policy, customer identification procedure. Acceptance policy means you're filling up the form. Procedure, identification, what are the proofs you have of identity. Customer profile, what type of customer he is. Okay, businessman, employee, housewife, women, men, educated, educating, this person is going for education, senior citizen, that portfolio, what is the health issues. Risk classification of the accounts, risk-based approaches, whatever problems he is going to have, how to overcome these problems by the risk management, ongoing monitoring of account activity, okay, what type of his day-to-day transactions of the bank accounts are also going to find out by this KYC norms, reporting of cash and suspicious transactions, regularly the cash withdrawals, okay, cash deposits, the cash transactions can be understood by this KYC norms. The rule in Clinton case, one more case is there. In a common law perception in relation to the distribution of monies from a bank account, it is based upon the notion of first in first out to determine the effect of payment from an account. The rule usually applies in absence of evidence of any other intention. So there is one more rule. Before this KYC came into existence, this rule of Clinton's case has been read out. So here, what according to the date, chronological order, they follow what is coming in, what is going out, what is debited and what is credited. What is coming is credited, what is going out is debited, what is first credited, what first debited. These all information. As per the rules in Clinton's case, the customer has more than one loan account and has not specified the account to which the money is said to be used. So here, what are the rules in the Clinton case? Why they want to know the details of the individuals? Actually, because of this Clinton's case only, KYC came into existence. So what is the main aim of this Clinton's case is how many number of accounts each customer is maintaining, each individual is maintaining, okay, in which bank account the loan is taken, in which bank account he is depositing the amount, how many accounts he is making. Suppose the cash is coming into the account, which account should be debited or which account should be credited. They want to know clearly. The customer has more than one loan account and has not specified, and means he did not say the bank that which account the money should be dropped out. When there are several debts outstanding between the creditor and the debtor, the question arises as to which of the debits is to be discharged. Suppose debts are there. Debts are means what? Loans. The money what he should pay to the people. Okay. So how many are outstanding? The creditor and the debtor question arises when the debts are discharged. When he is paying the debt, which amount should be cleared? Which account should be cleared? Then the law apportionates the payments in chronological order in Clinton case. So because of this Clinton case only the chronological order came into existence in 1816. Rule in Clinton case applicable to the loan and current accounts other than saving accounts. So this Clinton case is applicable to which accounts? Loan accounts and current accounts, but not for the saving accounts. The law apportionates the payment in the chronological order. So what is asking? Whatever payments are there, it should be in chronological order. The first item on the debit side to be discharged and the first item on the credit side. Did you follow this point? What is this point saying? So how much you should pay first? So how much amount is credited? Which amount should be paid first? That according to that rule, it is going to pay the amount. The balance, if any, to be carried forward. If any balance is left over, second payment it is going to pay for it. Applicable only to the accounts which are still running. This Clinton's case is applicable only for the cases which are running. One more special order is that is the Ganeshi order. What is the meaning of the Ganeshi order? Which year it started is Rule 46 of Code Civil Procedure 1908. Rule 46 of Code of Civil Procedure 1908, the Ganeshi order came into existence. Let me tell the story of the Ganeshi order. Suppose a person took the money from A, took the money from B, and he promised that on so and so date he is going to return the amount. Okay, the amount on the due promised date did not get received by B. Okay, years and years are passed out, but the money is not received. So he can inform to the court that so and so person took the amount and the amount is not cleared, or he took the loan from the bank and the loan has been not cleared. So at that time, bank is going to appoint one person. The court is going to appoint one person who is called as a guardian. Okay, what is his duty? The person who is appointed by the court is going to do the inquiry back of this person, that is A, who took the debt. All the sources, all the debts, all his property, they are going to do the inquiry and give the information to the court, and again which goes to the bank. That order which is given by the court, law of court, to which is keeping an agent called as a garnier, means it comes under garnishee order, which starts with the request of the bank. If a debtor fails to pay the debt owed by him to his creditor, the letter may be applied to the court for the issue of garnishee order on the banker of this debtor. Same thing, what I explained you is written in the form of points here. The banker is under the obligation not to pay the payment after the receipts of the garnishee order. Suppose a person who took the debt and he is having some amount in the bank. So he can't use that amount unless and until the court gives the order. Okay, he can't use the amount which is there in the credit balance of his account because there is a garnishee order on his name. The creditor becomes a judgment creditor. The debtor becomes judgment debtor, and the banker is also called as a garnishee. A garnishee order is a common form of enforcing a judgment debt against a creditor to recover the money. Why it has been done? In order to get, the bank should get the amount from this person. So all the trials which is made by the court to get this amount comes under garnishee order. But simply the court directs a third party that owns money to the judgment debtor instead to pay the judgment creditor. The third party is called as a garnishee. How a garnishee order works? A default judgment is usually obtained by the creditor either when the debt has gone unpaid, you haven't been able to come to any agreement with the creditor about repaying the debt, or other alternative debt collection avenues have been exhausted. If a garnishee order is made against you, then your bank, financial institutions or employees will likely to be notified rather than you. Garnishee order can be served to anyone that owes your money, such as tenants or contractors. Made to your employee. If your employer receives a garnishee order, they are required to pay the ordered amount to your creditor out of your wage or the salary. The payments will be taken regularly until your debt is paid in full. The court orders the payments to stop, or you deploy a formally remedy that will ease the order, such as filing for blank debt. So garnishee order can be made on banks and financial institutions, compelling them to put a freezy on your accounts. If this happens, your creditor can typically take the full amount owing from your account. Means you are able to understand, if the garnishee order is there on your bank account, means the person who is to take the money is going to take the money fully. They are not going to make you to use that account. Clear? So please listen the topics. Today we discussed about the Clinton's case, KYC norms and garnishee order. Thank you, students.